Hello everyone, welcome to a very fun video. I am going to be doing a palette bingo and another little demo plus a mini review on Lunar Beauty's Life's a Drag palette, Manny MUA's palette. I asked you guys via the community tab what you would like to see at palette bingo or 2 looks 1 palette or a review or whatever, and the top comment was like, why not all of it? So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. At the very beginning though, I just want to talk about the palette itself for a minute. So you'll see my first impressions in a couple of seconds where I am opening up the palette for the first time. I had never opened it before. When I'm picking shadows, you'll see me using everything for the very first time, but the palette itself retails for $45 US. I am in Canada, so I had to pay $45 for the palette, $20 US for shipping, and then when the palette got here, I had to pay even more money in fees. It ended up costing me $118 and some cents, which I just rounded up to $120 because it was pretty much $120 Canadian for this freaking palette. So I didn't know what shipping method they were going to be using. When I first saw the $20 shipping cost, I closed out. I was like, nah, I can't do it. And then I went back and I went, you know what? We'll take a risk. We'll take a risk on it because I was hoping that it was going to be the USPS, like the US Postal Service, because that usually ends up working pretty well most of the times for me, as long as something isn't marked up in terms of value on the packaging. But they use DHL, and DHL charges so much in terms of fees, and they will get you for every single last cent. So it did arrive pretty quickly. It shipped on the 6th of June and I received it on the 15th of June. So that was pretty good. I would have received it earlier if I hadn't missed the attempted deliveries. It does require a signature as well, so that was a little bit tricky to coordinate, but it did end up in my hands anyway, so I'm very glad about that. So anyway, I bought this palette because I love drag and I really wanted to support that aspect of it. I also am quite fond of Manny MUA. I know he's kind of a polarizing figure sometimes, like in our little corner of the beauty world, but I really enjoy his videos and I really love the concept of this palette, so I just had to get it. I am a huge Drag Race fan in particular, and I know he used some of the queens from the show in his campaign, which I will show and mention. This just really fits in with everything that I've currently been loving, so the price is nuts. But anyway, that's enough rambling. Let's get into the palette bingo. Alright, so it is time for some palette bingo. So I have the box here. The Lunar Beauty palette is still all wrapped up. This is going to be palette bingo and some first impressions. I love the marketing pictures. So you have Manny, you have Alyssa Ashley, you have Pheromone, and Shea Coulee, who I love them all. So it's just all around a win for me. So the palette is still all bubble wrapped, thoroughly wrapped. I hope nothing arrived damaged. There's a note on the label that says that returns will be accepted only for items damaged during transit. If you did receive a damaged palette, they'll accept your return if received within 20 days from the original shipment date. The return must be received back to the address listed below in the original packaging box and must contain packing slip. And I would be responsible for the cost of return shipping. So this palette was very expensive. I don't think that even if it is damaged, I would want to return it because it would just cost too much to ship. So we have the lovely label and the wrapping paper, which I just ripped apart. All right, so the palette is once again wrapped in bubble wrap. It's so pretty. So this is the outside packaging. It says Life's a Drag and it's glittery and gold, and I like the little crown there. So it says Lunar Beauty Color Palette. So on the back, there's a message from Manny that says, I dedicate this palette to all my makeup lovers out there. We are all queens. My first experience in the makeup world was in drag, which is why drag has been such an important influence in my life and always will be. I worked so hard to come up with a beautiful mix of neutral and bright colors that blend effortlessly. I know you'll have fun creating sickening looks with it, as much fun as I had creating it. Thank you all for the constant support. Life's a Drag wouldn't be here without you. That's cute. So there's the ingredients and everything on the back, and it says that it's good for 12 months and it's cruelty free. And it has Lunar Beauty's website, Manny's YouTube, and Lunar Beauty's Instagram, which is just Lunar Beauty. So I'm gonna attempt to open the box. I have such a hard time. Oh, I just ripped it. I can never do anything easily or smoothly. I'm really excited to see this palette. There it is. It's a big palette. This is a big palette. So it's got Manny's eyes on the front, and then it says Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag on the back. I really like this palette. This is immediately first impressions. I like all of this stuff. This feels very heavy duty. I know there's a mirror in here. Yes. Everything looks perfect. Nothing was damaged in transit, which is good to see. Everything's plastic covered. The mirror is cute to me. It says be a queen on the bottom. It's cute. I know some people don't like it. And there's a brush too, which I forgot about. I knew there was a brush, but didn't remember. So there's a little plastic sheet. And let's see what the brush is like. The colors look beautiful. I'm not even going to swatch anything until I do my palette bingo first. That's what I want to do, is just dive right in kind of blind, do the palette bingo, and then I'll do swatches. So the brush is nice. It's like a white and pink ombre. Now, I don't really like blending brushes like this that are kind of flat. I really like ones that are very fluffy, but I know I can use this one, and I like this side as well. It's a little bit smaller and denser, so I feel like that would be really good for packing on shadow on the lid. So I need my phone. I'm feeling a little nervous right now, a little anxious, but it's all gonna be okay. I'm just chanting to myself, water off a duck's back. That's what my necklace says. I just ordered it off Etsy. So there are 14 shadows in this palette. So the mirror doesn't, I don't want to break the palette, so I'm just gonna hold it like this because I don't want to bend this all the way back. So there are 14 shadows in this palette. Half of them are neutral, half of them are bright with 2 shimmers in the middle. I am going to start on the top row, so that's 1 through 7, and then we're going to do this way. That's how I feel like doing the numbers. So just so everybody's clear, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's how I'm going to choose the shadows. So I have random.org on my phone, which is just a website that you can plug in numbers. There's a true random number generator. So the minimum is 1, the maximum is 14. So my first shadow number is 8. And 8 is the Shadow Shady, which is the black shade. So I was kind of expecting that. I hope I don't get all neutrals, but hey, we'll see what happens. Okay. Black shadows sometimes don't swatch very well, so I was a little nervous about how this was going to turn out, but it swatched pretty well. It feels really soft. Like my initial first impression of the formula is it feels very soft, and it's not powdery. Sometimes, you know, when you swatch matte shadows, they can be really powdery, especially on swatch, so that's pretty good. There's still pigment on my my finger, which I'm not sure. Oh, I need a makeup wipe. All right, so we are going to generate the next number right now, 11. 11 is the shimmer shade called Legendary. This looks like a beautiful gold. So it feels soft again on swatch. Is it on my finger? Okay. Like my hand has no primer on it. This is just going in dry. That's really pretty. I always use Fix Plus with eyeshadow. I will try using this without Fix Plus first, and then if I have to use Fix Plus, I will take you through the whole process. But black and gold, this isn't as adventurous as I thought I was going to be, but you know, there's still time to pick out some colors here. So we're going to generate another shade here, 8 again, so I'm not going to have the black shadow twice. Let's generate 7. 7 is the Shadow Kiki right here. So now we have some color. Again, on my finger, swatching. Okay, so that was kind of disappointing. That's how that swatched. I'm going to put my finger through the pan again and just rub it over one more time. It's a very pretty mint shade, but it definitely does not swatch that well. Now, swatches don't mean a whole lot. There's been shadows, as I've mentioned before, and I know other people have mentioned it as well, that sometimes you swatch something and it swatches beautifully, but it doesn't apply to your lid the same way because you're not pressing as hard. And there's different methods, like when you're blending something in and you can layer things anyway. Just, I like this color combination though. This is really pretty. So one more shadow. We are going to generate 13. 13 is this red shade right here called Snatched. All right, so I am pressing pretty hard with this to make sure it swatches well. This one swatched really well. So this is a really pretty combination of colors. Not really what I was expecting, but it's beautiful. I'm gonna definitely have to do my cut crease thing, which is kind of what I was thinking anyway. I really wanted to add some like glitter and sparkle and stuff. So we're gonna use these 4 shades to start with. So I just put some tape on to really get that sharp angle. I really just want to like dive in with the black shade like I've done with other shadows, but I don't. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna dive right into shady and see how this works for starters. I already have my base makeup on, which is a good and a bad thing because it means that I can save some time here, but using a lot of black shadow on a face full of foundation makes me a little nervous. So it's applying pretty well. When I'm applying it, it reminds me a little bit of, is it Crave? That's in the Naked Basics palette from Urban Decay. That's what this black reminds me of. Like, it's not the most pigmented black, but it's really easy to blend up and it's not powdery. Like, I see some fallout down my face, like on the tape, but it's not like chunks of fallout. So right away, in terms of application, I'm pretty impressed with the shady shade because it reminds me so much of that Urban Decay black, which is usually what I use when I'm using a black eyeshadow. I will use that one. But this one performed really well. It's not patchy. It's really smooth. There's no like jaggedy edges. It's really blended out really well. So I'm going to try the Lunar Beauty brush next. So for the inner portion of my eye, I'm trying to decide if I want to do the red or the minty green color. I'm thinking that I'm going to put the green on the lower lash line and then I will use the red on the inner portion. I'm going to try the Lunar Beauty brush. So we're going to take Snatched. We're going to see how this applies. So I'm getting a little bit of kick up in the pan, just a little bit, nothing too crazy. I'm making sure I tap off my brush as well. This is a really pretty red shade. I already have fallout all down my face though. I'm gonna have to clean all that up. But I wanted to try doing my foundation first. That's a bit of a risk. Okay, so the Lunar Beauty brush applied decently the shadow on the upper portion of the lid, but it's not the greatest thing for blending these colors together, so I'm going to use this Wayne Goss brush. I usually use these kind of brushes for these kind of looks because they're smaller crease brushes and they're pretty rounded, so I find that I can really smoothly apply everything that I want to, and I'm just trying to blend the red and black together. And I'm going to go back in with a little bit of shady. I don't have a red eyeshadow that applies like Snatched, so I like that it's different than something I already have. It applies pretty well too. I'm already thinking of the kind of looks I could do with that kind of a red shadow. So next I need to cut the crease. Now if I was just doing this look outside of Palette Bingo, I think I would use the shade Beat instead of Legendary. Let me just swatch that. Yeah, because that has a little bit more pink in it. So that's the shadow that I probably would have gone with instead of Legendary, but Legendary is the one I'm going to apply. can definitely apply Legendary dry. I'm applying it with the Lunar Beauty brush, and it's just taking me a very long time to do it, so I am going to grab some Fix Plus. Yeah, so just applying it wet is a lot easier, especially on top of this tacky base, because I used a cream liner. Go back into Snatched, the red shade, to start blending Snatched and Legendary together. So I really like the way that Legendary applies as one of the shimmer metallic shades in the palette. It reminds me a bit of the Morphe metallic eyeshadows. Then I just used a clean fluffy brush to blend the red shadow up closer to my eyebrow. So this is what the look looks like right now. I'm going to take the tape off. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit of shady here. I'm going to clean everything up once I'm done to sharpen this up a little bit. I'm just going to use a makeup wipe, and then I will apply some more like concealer and stuff, but I just want to try and even those out a little bit, just a little bit. And then I am going to take the shade Kiki now, that blue, green, mint color, onto my lower lash line. This is kind of a version of the look on the palette itself, as I just realized as I kind of looked at it and I went, wait a second. So that shade is a little bit disappointing. It's really not applying as pigmented as some of the other shades, so it's a little bit of a letdown. I'm going to take some white. This is just the cream liner I used to cut the crease. I'm applying that on a little bit on the inner portion. And then I'm going to use the white shade Cake Face on top. Alright, so I applied mascara and lashes, and I have these little, I don't know how well they're gonna stay, these little like jewel. I'm just going to use a nude lip. This one is Sellout from Too Faced. And of course, how could it be a completed look without the biggest wig that I own? So there you have it. That is everything for palette bingo. There's a lot more still to come though. So I just wanted to check in really quickly. This is my eyeshadow after 8 hours of wear. I finished applying my eyeshadow around noon, and it's now just a little after 8 o'clock. I took off the lashes and I took off the embellishments because it was 30 degrees and it was just crazy sweltering heat, and I just couldn't deal with all that stuff on my face, so I took the other stuff off, but just left the eyeshadow alone. I haven't touched anything up on my face at all except for a little bit of concealer on my forehead. That is it. So this is what the eyeshadow looks like now. So it held up pretty well. You can definitely see a lot of smudging. The mint green shadow has pretty much all but disappeared. There's some fading that's pretty noticeable with the black, but the gold and the red really held its own for that long of a time, and I was fairly active throughout most of that 8 hours, so I feel pretty good really good now that I've really put this to a solid test. Obviously not all of the shadows, but at least these ones that I did use. So I'm going to do another look using some of the other shades in the palette, and then I will talk about some of my final thoughts. Guess who's back again? It is time for my second look with the Life's a Drag palette. So I forgot to mention during my palette bingo, but I had primed my eyes with the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. So I'm going to do the same now. I'm going to mix together a little bit of Cake Face and Sickening to make a shade that I can set my primer with. So I probably will end up setting most of this to music just because I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to take this shade Sickening, just Sickening alone. It's a very typical crease shade that you see a lot of the gurus using, the transition shade, if you will. It's just that soft, light peachy brown. Next, I'm going to take the purple shade Pageant Queen. Next, I'm going to take the pink shade Kai Kai. And I'm going to take the blue shade Fishy. I'm going to take the shimmery shade Beat next for the center. Alright, so you can definitely see a lot of fallout from Fishy, the blue shade. I'm very unimpressed with that shadow. I really like Pageant Queen and Kai Kai. They blend out beautifully. I wish I had just stuck with them instead of trying to deepen with the blue because the blue just was not working. And Beat is really pretty. It had a lot more of a pop than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting it to be so vibrant. I thought I'd really have to work with it. I did apply it with Fix Plus, but it still really pops. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So not impressed with Fishy. So fortunately that was easily removed with a makeup wipe, not really a big deal. I did not put my foundation on first that time just because I wanted to make sure that I could clean up any fallout pretty easily. Like when I'm looking at the look further back, I like it. Up close, the blue is really annoying. It's interesting that it's the like minty color and the blue color that I don't like out of what I've used so far. So the only things I haven't used in this palette are Campy, the yellow, Hunting, Mug, and Trade. So these ones kind of look fairly safe, and I'm not sure about that yellow. I'm gonna swatch it now, get an idea. Okay, it's pretty vibrant, not as vibrant as like the one from the Juvia's Place palette or Viseart, but I feel like it would work, especially mixed with other things. Like if you were doing like a rainbow or something, it would work out pretty well. So I'm just priming my face with the Becca First Light priming filter. Just for a little glow, I'm going to use some of the stuff that's just right in front of me. So nothing too crazy with this eye look in comparison to the other one. I really just wanted to try out some more of these shadows so that I could talk about this palette a little bit better than just having used 4 shadows. Alright, so I just applied a tiny bit of contour and blush, nothing too crazy. I need a highlight. I'm going to use This one from Cliono Cosmetics called Homme. There's no highlight shade in Life's a Drag for me unless I wanted to just use the matte white, and I am not about that life. So I'm going to use this one. So I applied the Cocoa Lashes in Chloe. I didn't trim them. This is a new style I've never tried before, and I don't like to trim lashes until I wear them at least once to get an idea of where they sit and exactly how much I would want to take off. So I can tell they're a little tiny bit longer, but just gonna deal with it. So for my lower lash line, I'm taking a little bit of Pageant Queen, that purple. I think I'm gonna try and avoid Fishy this time, just because I really did not like the way that it applied on my lid. Just to try it out, I'm gonna try a little bit of Trade. And then a little bit of the pink Kai Kai. All right, so of course a nude lip, a little bit of black eyeliner, and some mascara finishes this look. So I will pop a wig on and come right back for some final thoughts. All right, so here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. My final thoughts on the Life's a Drag palette right now. I am planning to do a follow-up though, because I am not 100%. So I will do a get ready with me in about a week or two using this palette, and I'll talk more about my thoughts at that time. But right now, if you are on the fence about this palette, you can get off the fence, you can walk away, you can walk far away, because you are not missing anything. The formula is not revolutionary by any means. I don't think it's worth the price tag if you're international. Just stay far away from it until they make the shipping better, until it's potentially available somewhere else. Don't waste your money on that, because oh my god, it's so expensive. It's so expensive and just not worth it. The money could go towards something else, and the chances are that you're not interested in all of the shadows, so you could just dupe a couple of the ones you already need. From the neutral shade section over here, I have shadows that dupe all of these. I do like the formula of these, especially the black shadow, because it reminds me so much of Urban Decay, which I really love working with. The white shadow is really pigmented as well, so that was good to use. Sickening is a really good transition shade, you know, you can't really say anything bad about it. I used Trade a little bit with this, as you guys saw in my lower lash line, and it's good. It's good, and I only swatched Hunty and Mug, the two, like the cooler brown and the warmer brown, and they're brown eyeshadows. I have a bunch that could dupe that. The shimmers are really nice. I wish there was actually more of them. I wish there were some colorful shimmers. The gold shade Legendary, I have a lot of golds like that. I don't have anything quite like Beat though, so that's a pretty shadow I can see myself using more of, especially mixed with other things. I think a very pretty neutral cut crease, like one of the half cut creases, using this shade as a focus would be beautiful. And of course, I just love a gold eyeshadow like this. I want to use the gold and with like the pink in my lid, or using the yellow Campy in my crease. When it comes to the colors, I used all of them except for Campy, the yellow, which I just swatched, and it looks like it's going to perform pretty well, but I need to play with it a little bit more. But I think just based on the swatch and sort of rubbing the swatch with my finger, I feel like it will work really well as an accent shade. So if I was doing like a rainbow look with like the yellow in the inner corner, I think it will hold up really well. I can't see it holding up beyond being used as like a crease shade or just a little bit on the inner corner. Like I wouldn't want to do a whole yellow thing because I just don't think it has the strength in it. Now the other shadows, Kai Kai, the pink shadow is gorgeous. I've been looking for something to replace Savage from the Urban Decay Electric palette because that shadow just is not performing like it used to. I really need a new pink, and nothing I was using quite worked like I wanted it to. Kai Kai is phenomenal. Just from using it right now, I can see myself reaching for it as my pink shadow whenever I'm using pink. And Pageant Queen is an amazing purple, one of my favorite purples that I've ever used. As I started using it, I went, okay, I really like this. This is applying beautifully. Before I really liked the purples in the Viseart palette. I actually like this purple better. It's not too dry, and so it's not super powdery. There is a little bit of follow, but not a lot, not in comparison to the blue shade, which I'll mention, but it just really built up so beautifully, and I love the way that it looks. It's just such a good matte purple, which can be kind of tricky. From the ones I've used before, matte purples often end up chalky. This one is gorgeous, and Snatched is such a unique red color. I have nothing like this, and I remember applying it and I went, this is so different and just what I was missing. So I really like Snatched a lot. It just applied so easily. It blended like an absolute dream, to use one of those typical guru phrases, but it really did. It was effortless blending, so that was really impressive to me. My least two favorite shadows in this palette have to be Kiki and Fishy. Now Fishy, it could just be the way that I was using it, but it's a really bad sign to me, like that deep blue, when I'm layering shadows and it doesn't hold. Like the blue shade should have been able to build up on top of the purple and pink. It should not have started taking away. It shouldn't have fallen out as much as it did. Now, if I use it in a different way, it might prove me wrong, which is one of the shadows I want to play with. I feel like I can use the yellow and the blue together, which is a color combination that I'm quite fond of. So if I play with those shadows, maybe I'll find a way to use it that I like a little bit more, but that shadow was really disappointing. And Kiki, I'm calling it mint. I'm sure it's not mint. I think I've heard other people refer to it as sort of like a turquoise color, but to me, it just looks mint. When I swatch it, it looks minty, and it was such a disappointment. It's so sheer. It's not pigmented at all, and I wish it was a true pigmented mint color. That would be amazing. I've been on the hunt for really good matte mint eyeshadows. Like when I use it on my lower lash line, it barely showed up then, and it lasted like an hour before it was completely gone, and I just so unimpressed by that shadow. I could see potentially using it in my crease, but not really with any of the other things in this palette. I could see using it with like the Zulu palette. There's a shade in there, and the Natasha Denona Tropic palette that has that mint frost shade. I could use it with some sort of pale shimmery blue or green. That might be the only way it would work for me. So like I said, I need to use that a little bit more. So do I regret purchasing this palette? A little bit, just because of how expensive it was. If it really only cost me $45, even with the conversion rate, so it would be something like $55, even $60, I would be absolutely okay with that. That would be more than reasonable for a palette of this size, and I would pay $10 to $15 for shipping on top of that, but that's my cutoff. I was twice above what I would have realistically wanted to pay for this palette, because realistically I have to look at it that way. I know it's not retailing for that much. It's retailing for $45 US, but out of my pocket came $120. So that's a lot of money for something that doesn't perform spectacularly. You know, I've spent a lot of money on palettes that I really love, Viseart and Pat McGrath and Natasha Denona, and those shadows have really impressed me and are things that I constantly reach for. I will have to see if I constantly reach for this, but I love the packaging. I love the idea behind it. I love this whole layout. I love the drag inspiration. So there's a lot of winning factors in here for me as well. And I love how large this palette is. Some people might not like how large it is, but I really like how large it is, and I can just get invested right into this palette. So I just am not comfortable recommending this palette right now. The only people I would potentially recommend it to are people in the US who would pay the actual retail value for it and not any more, because that's what this palette is worth. It's not worth $120. It's just not. So anyway, I will do a follow-up, get ready with me, where I use this palette again. Anyway, that is all for me for the Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun, and I would love to do more like this in the future. If you would like to see anything else using this palette, or if you want to hear my thoughts on something, or if I didn't answer a question that you have, leave it for me down below in the comment section, and I will reply to you directly there. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead of you, and I hope we get a chance to chat soon. Bye for now.